The sun rose slowly over the shining towers of Solari. Golden light spread across the palace walls and flowed into the wide halls like calm water. Flowers in the royal garden opened to greet the morning. Birds flew between the tall trees. The world looked peaceful, but change was in the air. Inside the palace, Mira stood by the window of her private chamber. She wore a light silver robe with her family's royal symbol across her chest. Her eyes were fixed on the sky. A meeting of all noble houses had been called. Today, she would speak to them not just as a ruler, but as someone ready to shape a new future. Behind her, Tamil entered the room. He had cleaned his tools and now wore a dark blue suit made by the royal tailors. It was simple, strong, and honored both his human roots and Solari traditions. He looked around and saw Mira still, staring at the sky. "You look ready," he said softly. Mira turned and smiled. "Only because you are here." They walked together to the grand assembly hall. The space was filled with nobles, scholars, warriors, and leaders from every region. Crystal lights hung from the ceiling. The sound of quiet voices filled the air, but all went silent when Mira stepped forward. She stood at the center, her voice clear and calm. "Years ago, I was rescued by a man from another world. I was only a child. I was lost, alone, and scared. But he gave me safety. He gave me hope. That memory never left me." Some nobles leaned forward to listen. Others looked at Tamil with quiet respect. Mira continued, "Now, as your princess, I have faced danger again. Not as a child, but as your leader. And once again, that same man stood by my side. Not for power, not for praise, but for what is right." She turned and looked at Tamil. "Tamil has given us more than skills. He has given us his heart, his honesty, and his strength. I stand here today because of him." Tamil lowered his eyes. For a moment, he was not used to such words. But Mira was not finished. "Today, I ask for more than your trust. I ask for unity. Let Solari be a place where trust is stronger than fear, where truth stands above pride, and where bonds between worlds can grow." She paused, then said the words that surprised the entire room. "I ask Tamil not only to stay, but to stand beside me, not just as a friend, but as my partner. Not just in the palace, but in life." Gasps rose from the crowd, then silence. All eyes turned to Tamil. He stepped forward, heart pounding. He looked at Mira, then at the gathered nobles. "I never planned to be here," he said. "I came from a world where no one believed my story. I walked alone for many years. But this place, your people," and Mira showed me what it means to belong. He paused, then nodded. "I accept. I will stay. I will stand beside her and help build the future she sees." The room filled with applause. Nobles stood and clapped. Some even cheered. For the first time in many years, Solari was united after the assembly. A quiet ceremony was held in the royal garden. Mira and Tamil stood beneath the silver tree where Mira had once cried as a child. Now, they stood tall, side by side, a light breeze passed through the leaves as a royal priest gave them blessings. The stars appeared above them as night fell. Lights glowed gently across the city. The people of Solari sang songs of peace and unity. Tamil walked through the city streets. That evening, many people greeted him with smiles. Children waved. Shopkeepers offered him gifts. He had become more than a visitor. He was one of them now. He passed the repair center where he had first fixed a palace drone. The same workers still worked there. They waved and shouted his name. He smiled and waved back. At the edge of the city, he found Mira waiting near the lake. The water reflected the stars. They sat together in silence for a while. "This place has changed me," Tamil said. "It has changed me too," Mira replied. They looked at the sky, where distant stars blinked like soft fire. Somewhere out there was Earth, but Tamil no longer felt a pull to go back. His journey had brought him to this moment, to this world, and to her. "I used to fix broken things," he said. "Now I help build something new." Mira smiled. "We build it together." And so began a new chapter for Solari. A human and a Solari princess ruled not by fear, but by kindness and strength. Peace returned to the skies, and hope filled the hearts of the people. Tamil, the man who once walked alone, now had a place to call home, not because he was a hero, but because he was needed, trusted, and loved. And in the heart of Solari, under the stars, a new story began. The twin suns of Varelia shone brightly in the sky as the grand silver gates of the palace opened. The people stood in silence, waiting to see the stranger who had come from another world. His name was Tarin, a human warrior sent from Earth. He was chosen by the United Council to protect the young princess of Varelia. Tarin stepped out of the starship. He wore dark armor, and a long scar crossed his cheek. His eyes were calm, but sharp like blades. He did not smile. He did not wave. He walked with steady steps as if he feared nothing. From the palace balcony, Princess Lyra watched. Her blue skin shimmered under the sunlight. Her golden robe flowed behind her. But her face was tight with worry. She had heard stories about humans. They were said to be cold, violent, and dangerous. She did not trust this one. He should not be here, she said quietly. But he saved his own world many times, said Lady Esha, her teacher and guide. We need his skill. Our enemies grow stronger. Princess Lyra stayed silent. Her heart was not at ease. The human warrior looked more like a weapon than a protector. In the council chamber, the leaders of Varelia stood in a circle. Tarin bowed his head once. He did not speak unless asked. You understand your duty? The High Guardian asked. I do, Tarin replied. You will protect Princess Lyra at all costs. I will, he answered. Lyra stepped into the chamber, her head held high. She looked at Tarin, and he looked back. For a moment, neither spoke. There was no kindness in her eyes, and none in his. You may follow me, she said, turning away. Tarin followed her through the long crystal halls of the palace. Guards stood along the walls. Dressed in white, servants walked quietly, avoiding his eyes. Everyone knew who he was. He was the human, the outsider. Lyra stopped near her private garden. You will stay here, she said. I will stay close. Tarin replied, I do not want you near me. I do not leave my duty. Lyra frowned. She turned and left him alone. Tarin stood near the garden gate. He watched everything. He noticed the movement of shadows, the path of guards, and the small delay in the patrols. He saw more than anyone else. He did not relax. His hands stayed ready. Hours passed. Tarin remained still. At sunset, the wind carried a strange smell. Smoke. He followed the scent, moving quickly through the palace grounds. He reached a side hall and saw fire rising from a storage room. Without waiting, he ran inside. A small alien girl cried in the corner. Tarin pulled her out just before the flames reached her. The guards came late. The fire was put out, but the damage was done. The council asked questions, but no one had answers. Lyra watched the human from a distance. He had burn marks on his arm, but did not complain. He returned to his post near the garden, quiet as before. Later that night, Lyra sat in her room, thinking. He saved a child, she whispered. His kind are not all monsters. Lady Esha said. Lyra looked at the stars. She remembered how he looked into the fire without fear. He had acted without waiting, without orders. She had seen true danger before, but Tarin did not freeze. He moved like someone who had faced death many times. The next day, Lyra went to the garden. You should rest, she said. I rest when there is no threat, Tarin replied. There is no threat now. There always is. Lyra stared at him. Why do you fight? For peace. He said, strange answer for a man of war. Tarin looked at the sky. War teaches you the value of peace. He said. Lyra did not reply. She walked into the garden. For the first time, she did not tell him to stay away. That evening, during a royal parade in the city square, something went wrong. A loud sound echoed. A device placed near the fountain exploded. People screamed. Guards moved in panic. Lyra stood, shocked. Before she could move, Tarin rushed in and covered her with his body. Sharp glass rained down. Smoke filled the air. When the dust cleared, Tarin stood, blood on his shoulder. Lyra was safe. He looked at her and stepped back. You are unharmed, he he said. She nodded, still shaking. Guards rushed to help. The council called it an accident, but Tarin had seen the device. It was placed with care. It was no mistake. That night, Lyra stood in the garden while Tarin trained with a long wooden staff. His moves were fast and smooth. He turned, jumped, blocked, and struck. His body moved with grace and power. He did not notice her watching. She spoke at last. You were not afraid. I was ready, he replied. Do you always protect without question? Only those I am sworn to protect. Lyra walked closer. You think more danger will come? It already has, Tarin said. She looked into his eyes. They were cold, but not cruel. You are not what I expected, nor are you, he replied. For the first time, Princess Lyra did not feel fear in his presence. She felt something else. Safety. The palace guards had doubled their watch after the attack in the city square. Everyone moved carefully, eyes sharp, voices low. The council told the people that all was under control. But Princess Lyra knew the truth. Something was wrong in the heart of her kingdom. And only one person seemed truly ready for it. Tarin stood outside her chamber from sunrise to moonrise. He slept only for a few hours and trained every morning in the garden. His eyes scanned every corner, every shadow, and every visitor. He trusted no one. And yet, he was calm, like a stone unmoved by wind. Lyra started to notice small things. The guards often talked loudly, but Tarin said little. When he did speak, it was always short and clear. He did not waste words. He used them like he used his hands only when needed. One afternoon, as Lyra walked in the palace gardens, she heard a noise in the trees. Before she could turn, Tarin was already in front of her. Hand on his blade, a bird flew out. It was harmless. Tarin stepped back silently. You act faster than the wind, she said. It is better to move too soon than too late, he answered. Lyra watched him closely. She still did not fully trust him, but she no longer feared him. That evening, the council gathered. The High Guardian spoke with worry. Our defense system was shut down for 3 minutes yesterday, he said. Only 3 minutes? One elder asked. 3 minutes is enough to end a life, Tarin replied. The room fell silent. Lyra stood. We must find the cause. It was no mistake. Do you suggest a traitor, princess? One council member asked. I suggest we do not. Wait until someone dies, she said. Later, as the stars lit the sky, Lyra sat in her chamber. She could not sleep. Her mind was full of questions. Her people trusted her, but she was still learning how to lead. Her father had ruled with strength, but he was gone now. She had to stand alone, or perhaps not fully alone. Lyra stepped outside. Tarin was there, sitting on the steps, sharpening his blade. You never rest? She asked. Rest is a gift. I only take it when it is safe. Lyra sat beside him. The night was quiet. She looked at the stars. You have fought in many places. Yes. Why? Do you do it? What drives you? He paused. I fight so others do not have to. Lyra nodded slowly. You could have let the child in the fire burn. No one would have blamed you. Tarin looked ahead. I would have blamed myself. The next day, Lyra asked him to walk with her in the training yard. The Sharari warriors trained there with curved blades and long staffs. They moved like dancers. But Tarin moved differently. He used simple, fast strikes. Not beautiful, but deadly. Show me, Lyra said, picking up a training stick. Tarin looked at her. You wish to learn? I wish to survive. He handed her the stick and stood across from her. Balance first, he said. Feet wide, hands firm. She followed. He taught her to block and strike. He moved slowly at first, then faster. You're strong, he said. I'm learning, she replied. He nodded. Good. Each day after that, they trained in the early morning. Lyra grew faster, more focused. The fear in her steps faded. Her mind sharpened. One morning, while training, Tarin stopped. Someone watches, he said. They turned. A servant girl stood near the tree, pretending to sweep. Tarin walked toward her. She ran. He followed. She dropped a small device as she fled. He picked it up. It was a signal beacon used to send location data. Tarin brought it to the council. She was marking the princess's path, he said. Impossible, one elder said. She's been here for years. Loyalty can be sold, Tarin replied. Guards were sent to find the girl. She had already vanished. That night, Lyra stood alone in the garden. Tarin came to her side. They know where I go, she said. Yes? He answered. I'm not safe anywhere now. You are safe as long as I stand, he said. She looked at him. I do not understand you. You don't need to, he said. You only need to know I will not fail. She walked slowly through the garden. He followed behind. I saw your scars, she said softly. From old battles. Yes, you lived through many things. I lived because others did not. She stopped. That must be heavy. It is. She turned to face him. Then why do you keep going? He looked at her without blinking. Because if I don't, others will carry worse. Lyra said nothing more. In the days that followed, danger grew. Guards disappeared. Communication lines failed for brief moments. It was clear someone was planning something. But who and when? Lyra grew stronger, not just in body, but in mind. She read old books on war and leadership. She spoke less, but listened more. One evening, she stood before the council. I no longer believe this is only an outside threat, she said. What do you mean? The High Guardian asked. I think someone close to us is helping the enemy. The room grew tense. If you are wrong, one council member said. If I am wrong, then no harm is done. But if I am right, we must act now. Tarin stood behind her, silent but present. Her words had strength. The council agreed to investigate quietly. That night, Lyra walked in the moonlight. You have changed me, she said to Tarin. I did nothing. You showed me what strength looks like. He did not answer, but he walked beside her, closer than before. The days became quiet, but the silence was not peaceful. It felt like the sky before a great storm. Princess Lyra could feel it. Something was coming, and she did not know from where. Tarin stayed close. His eyes missed nothing. He watched the guards, the council members, even the shadows in the halls. He began checking every room the princess entered. Some guards grew annoyed by his actions, but no one stopped him. One evening, a messenger entered the palace. He was out of breath and looked nervous. He gave a sealed note to the High Guardian. The Guardian read it with a hard face. There has been another attack, he said. Two watchtowers near the border were destroyed. By pirates? Lyra asked. No sign of ships. The Guardian replied. They used weapons from our own stock. Tarin stepped forward. Then someone is helping them from inside, he said. Some council members looked uncomfortable. You speak as if we cannot be trusted, one said. I speak only what the facts show, Tarin replied. Princess Lyra nodded. He is right. We must look inward as well as outward. That night, Tarin showed Lyra the weak points in her chamber. The walls were strong, but the ceiling vent could be used to drop in. The floor sensor near her bed was slow to react. She watched him carefully, learning not just his words, but the way he moved and thought. Teach me how to see what you see, she said. Tarin looked at her, then gave a short nod. Start with patterns, where people go, what they do. Then look for what is different. Lyra trained with him every morning. She no longer wore her long royal robe. Instead, she dressed like a warrior in light armor. Her hands grew strong, her eyes sharper. One night, she entered the old library with Tarin. It was dusty and quiet. Few ever came there. Why here? Tarin asked. There are records, Lyra replied. Old ones. My father kept copies of council votes and military supply records. She searched the shelves while Tarin kept watch at the door. After an hour, she found what she was looking for. These reports are different, she said. Shipments were changed 2 months ago. Weapons were listed as missing, but no action was taken. She handed the papers to Tarin. Who signed them? He asked. Lyra looked at the name. Her hands grew cold. It was Varan, my cousin. Tarin's face did not change. You trust him? I did. They left the library and returned to her chamber. Lyra sat in silence. He always smiled in front of me. He spoke of honor and peace. But if he is helping the enemy, he may want the throne. Tarin said. Lyra looked down. I never wanted the throne. I only took it after my father's death. Varen was older, but the council chose me. Jealousy is a seed that grows in silence, Tarin said. That night, Lyra could not sleep. She stood on her balcony, looking out over the city. Lights flickered below. Somewhere in those streets, people were planning her fall. She knew it now. Tarin stood nearby. If something happens to me, she said, promise me you will protect the people. I protect you, he said, but I am only one life. You are the key to many lives, he replied. She looked at him. You never speak of your past. There is nothing worth speaking of. There must be something. A reason you fight. A reason you protect me. Tarin stayed quiet for a moment. My sister died in a war. I was not there. I should have been. Lyra's voice softened. I'm sorry. He nodded. I made a vow that day. I would not let another life slip past me if I could stop it. Lyra, step closer. Then I am thankful for your vow. The next day, they left the palace quietly. Lyra wore a cloak, and Tarin dressed as a traveler. They moved through the market streets, looking for clues. They reached a small metal shop near the lower district. The shopkeeper had once served in the royal guard. Lyra asked him about missing weapons. He leaned close. Some soldiers bring weapons to the edge of the forest at night. They think no one sees, but I saw them twice. Did you see who gave the order? Tarin asked. The man nodded slowly. A tall one. Wore a blue sash. That is for council members. Tarin and Lyra left at once. They returned to the palace and went to the forest that night. They hid behind thick trees, watching. Hours passed. Then, movement, for guards arrived with crates. A fifth man walked beside them. It was Varen. He opened the crates. Inside were rifles, small shields, and energy packs. Suddenly, Varen turned. He looked straight into the trees. I know you're there, he called. Lyra stepped out, followed by Tarin. Varen laughed. I expected you sooner. You betray your own blood, Lyra said. I serve what is best for Varelia, he replied. And that is not you? Tarin moved forward, but Varen raised his hand. Not here. Not now. You cannot prove this to the council, and if you try, I will strike first. Tarin did not flinch. I don't need proof to stop you. Varen smiled and disappeared into the shadows. His guards followed, leaving the crates behind. Lyra stared at the weapons. We have seen the truth, she said. But others must see it too, Tarin replied. Before it is too late. They carried one crate back to the palace. As the sun rose, Lyra stood before the council again. This was taken from the forest last night, ordered by one of our own. The council members looked at each other, unsure. Tarin, step forward. Princess Lyra is not just your ruler, she is your shield. If you do not stand with her now, you will fall with your silence. The room grew still. Outside, clouds gathered in the sky. The wind picked up. Trouble was coming. But so was the fight. The great hall of the palace was quiet. The council members looked down at the crate of weapons lying open in the center. The room smelled of metal and dust. Princess Lyra stood tall before them. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp. These weapons were hidden in the forest. They were meant for enemies of this kingdom. They were taken from our own supplies. This is not just a mistake. This is betrayal. Some members shifted in their seats. The High Guardian leaned forward. You say your cousin, Counselor Varen, was involved. I saw him myself, Lyra said. So did my protector. Tarin stepped beside her. His face showed no fear. I saw him take the weapons. I heard his words. He does not serve this throne. One of the older council members raised a hand. Do you have proof beyond your word? Lyra held up a small recording device. It showed a short clip. Varen's voice was clear. His face was seen in the dark. Giving orders to the guards near the crates, the council fell silent again. The truth was now clear. But not all agreed to act, even if it is true. One elder said, Varen is part of the royal blood. This cannot go public. It will break trust in the throne. Lyra stepped forward. Silence will not protect this kingdom. Truth will. That evening, Lyra sat alone in her chamber. Her mind was full of thoughts. The wind outside blew strong against the palace walls. She heard the sound of footsteps and turned. Tarin stood by the door. They do not wish to act yet, he said. They fear change, she replied. He nodded. Fear is common in those who have never fought. Lyra walked to the balcony. The city lights below twinkled in the night. I never wanted to be queen. But now I understand. This throne is not for power. It is for protection. Tarin stepped beside her. Then you are ready. I must become more than a name. I must become a leader. The next day, Lyra made a decision. She would leave the palace for one day. She would visit the Hall of Ancients, an old place where warriors once trained and rulers sought wisdom. It was deep in the forest, far from the city. Some tried to stop her, but she was firm. Tarin went with her. They rode in a silent hovercar, guarded by only two trusted pilots. The forest grew thick as they moved deeper. Birds flew overhead, and old trees blocked the sun. After 2 hours, they reached the hall. It was a stone building, half broken, but strong. Vines covered the walls. Statues of old kings and warriors stood guard outside. Inside, it was cold and quiet. Dust covered the floor, but old symbols still glowed on the walls. Lyra walked slowly, reading the words carved into the stone. Honor before pride, truth before comfort, peace through strength. She turned to Tarin. My father used to bring me here. He said this place reminds leaders of their duty. Tarin looked around. I can see why. They lit a small fire and sat near the old council. Stone, Lyra spoke first. Voren is not working alone. He cannot do all this without help. You are right, Tarin said. There are others inside the palace, but we do not know who. She said, we must draw them out. They spent the night in the hall. Lyra could not sleep. She sat beside the fire, watching the flames. Tarin, she said softly, yes? What did your people think of this mission? They warned me. They said aliens would not trust a human. Were they right at first? Yes, she looked at him. And now, you are not like the others. Neither spoke after that. The fire burned low. Morning came. They returned to the palace. But something had changed. 2 guards they trusted were gone. The security systems had been reprogrammed. Even Lyra's room had been searched while she was away. They know we are close, Tarin said. Lyra looked at the wall behind her desk. A small family picture had been moved. Her father's face looked at her with pride in the photo. I will not fail him, she whispered. She called a meeting in her private chamber. Only 4 people were invited, 3 council members and Tarin. The others were left out on purpose. I need you to watch the rest of the council, she said. Watch their movements, their words, even the way they look at each other. We must find the ones helping Voren. They agreed. In the next few days, Lyra kept calm in public, but inside the palace, a silent search began. Every hallway, every guard shift, every visitor's path was watched. Tarin placed hidden sensors in key places. One night, a sensor near the old war room beeped. Tarin and Lyra rushed there in silence. They saw a figure speaking to someone through a holocall. The screen showed a strange alien face, a pirate. The voice spoke with hate. The queen is young. She is not ready. Strike soon. The human cannot stop everything. The figure nodded. It was one of the council members. Lyra stepped into the light. You have spoken with our enemies? The counselor turned in shock. Tarin moved fast and grabbed his arm. It's over, Tarin said. But the man only smiled. It has just begun. He bit down on something and collapsed. Poisoned. Lyra stepped back. In shock. Tarin checked his pulse. He is gone. They now knew that the pirates and Voren were preparing something bigger. The betrayal was deeper than they thought. Lyra looked at Tarin. We must be faster than them. He nodded. There is no more time to wait. Outside, the wind grew stronger. Clouds moved in. A storm was coming, one that would shake the whole kingdom. But Lyra was ready, and by her side stood the human warrior she had once feared. Dark clouds gathered over the capital city of Varelia. The air was heavy. and even the birds flew lower, as if they sensed what was coming. Inside the palace, Princess Lyra stood before the map table, looking at every border, every guard post, and every weak point in her kingdom. Tarin stood beside her, arms crossed, quiet as always. The enemy is already inside, Lyra said. We must act before they strike again. They will not wait long, Tarin replied. The man we caught was only one piece. Varen has others. At that moment, a young guard rushed into the room. His face was pale, and his voice shook. Your Highness, the western gate has been attacked. 3 guards are missing. One was found, with no life signs. Lyra's hands clenched. Was anything taken? Yes. A transport ship, armed. Tarin looked at the map. They're getting ready to move, and they want to move fast. Lyra nodded. Then we must move faster. Later that day, she called a full meeting of the council. The chamber was filled with whispers. Some members looked worried. Others looked angry. Varen sat calmly, his hands folded, eyes on Lyra. She walked into the chamber, wearing a silver armor robe. She no longer looked like a frightened princess. She looked like a ruler ready to face war. We are under attack, she said, but not from outside only. Our enemy sits among us. Varen stood up slowly. You speak strong words. But do you have proof? Lyra pointed toward a screen. Tarin pressed a button, and the images appeared. Guards stealing weapons. Messages sent to pirate ships, and Varen's voice giving secret orders. Gasps filled the room. A few council members stood in shock. Others stayed silent. Varen smiled. So, this is your game. It is not a game, Lyra replied. It is justice. Varen turned to the others. She is still young. She does not understand how to lead. I tried to save this kingdom from her weakness. You tried to destroy it, Lyra said. In a sudden move, Varen grabbed a small device from his robe and pressed it. The floor shook. Alarms rang. The lights dimmed. They're here, Tarin said. The pirates. Outside the palace, ships broke through the clouds. Dark, sharp ships with red lights. Pirate forces poured from them, landing in the city. Chaos spread fast. Varen ran from the chamber. Lyra gave the order. Seal the gates. Prepare the defenses. Protect the people. The council split. Some stayed. Some ran. The loyal guards formed a circle around Lyra. Tarin led them through the hidden tunnels under the palace. He will try to take the throne room. Tarin said, Let him try, Lyra replied. I will face him there. They moved quickly. Explosions shook the walls. Smoke filled the air. In the great hall, pirate forces stormed in. But Lyra's defenders held the line. Tarin moved like lightning, blocking blasts and striking enemies down. Lyra fought beside him, her blade steady. The people of the city, seeing their queen fighting, rose with new strength. Citizens helped the guards. Shops were turned into defense posts. The streets became battlegrounds. Meanwhile, Varen reached the throne room. He stood before the empty seat, breathing hard. 2 of his guards stood with him. This kingdom is mine now, he said. But then the door opened. Lyra walked in, sword in hand, her armor shining in the firelight. You are no king, she said. You are a coward. Varen laughed. You think you can stop me? I do not think. I know. He rushed at her with a blade. The fight was fast and full of fire. Sparks flew as swords clashed. Lyra moved with skill she had learned from Tarin. She blocked, stepped back, and struck. Varen fought with anger, but Lyra fought with purpose. In the end, she disarmed him. He fell to his knees. It's over, she said. Tarin entered the room with guards behind him. They took Varen away. Outside, the pirate ships were retreating. Their leader had fallen. Their plans had failed. The battle had ended, but the kingdom had changed. Later, Lyra stood on the palace steps. Her people gathered below. They had seen her lead, fight, and protect them. They no longer saw her as a young girl. They saw her as their true queen. She raised her hand. We have seen darkness, but we did not run. We stood together. This victory is not mine. It is ours. The crowd cheered. Tarin stood behind her, quiet as always. She turned and faced him. You were chosen to protect me, but you did more. You helped me become who I needed to be. I only did my duty, he replied. You did more than that, she said. For the first time. Tarin gave a small nod of respect. The sky began to clear. The clouds broke apart, and sunlight returned to Varelia. The kingdom had survived, but the journey was not over. The city of Varelia was quiet after the battle, but peace had not truly returned. Smoke still rose from broken towers. Streets were filled with workers repairing buildings. The people were strong, but their eyes still held fear. They knew the danger was not over. Inside the palace, Princess Lyra stood in the war room. Maps were spread across the large table. She traced her finger over the mountain range to the east. That is where the pirates hide now, she said. Tarin stood across from her. His armor was scratched, and a fresh cut ran across his arm, but he stood strong. They pulled back for now, he said, but they will not stay away for long. Lyra looked up. They want revenge, and they want the crystals hidden in the deep mines. If they take those, they will return with more ships and more weapons. Tarin nodded. We must strike first. The council had gathered again, but this time they listened to Lyra without doubt. She had proven herself in battle. Her voice was strong, and her words held weight. The pirates plan to return, she said. We will not wait for them. We will strike at their base in the eastern cliffs. We will end this war before it begins. One council member raised a concern. It is dangerous. Your Highness, what if it is a trap? It might be, Lyra said. But if we stay here, they will strike us when we are weak. She looked at Tarin. We must take the risk. Tarin gave a short nod. I will lead the strike team. And I will go with you, Lyra said. The council fell silent again. One elder stood. You are the queen. If anything happens, my people stood and fought when they saw me stand with them. I will not hide now. The room was quiet. Then the elder bowed. Then may you return with victory. That night, Lyra and Tarin prepared their team. Only the best warriors were chosen. Light armor, fast ships, and silent weapons. This mission would be quick and sharp. Before they left, Lyra walked alone to the garden. The flowers had begun to bloom again. The breeze was soft. She touched one of the leaves and took a deep breath. She turned when she heard footsteps. Tarin stood nearby. Are you ready? He asked. She looked at him. More than ever. He handed her a small device. Calm. You need stay in contact, no matter what. She placed it on her belt. Together, they boarded the small strike ship. It flew quietly across the sky, passing over rivers and forests. The eastern cliffs soon came into view, tall and sharp. They looked like teeth rising from the earth. Tarin pointed toward a cave near the top. They keep their command there. That's where the leader is. The ship landed behind a rock wall. The team moved out, careful and quiet. They climbed the narrow path that led to the cave. Inside, the air was warm and smelled of oil and dust. Machines hummed. Guards walked the halls. Tarin gave hand signals. The team split into two groups. Lyra moved with him. Suddenly, an alarm rang. Someone had seen them. Move fast, Tarin said. Blasters fired. The team pushed forward. Inside the main control room, a tall figure turned around. He wore black armor and had yellow eyes. His voice was deep and rough. You again, he said to Tarin. Tarin stepped forward. I told you to stay away from this world. The pirate leader smiled. And I told you humans don't belong in our space. They rushed at each other. Their blades clashed, sparks flew. Lyra led the others to the power core. She planted charges while her team held off the guards. We have 5 minutes, she said. The cave shook as the fight between Tarin and the leader grew fierce. Tarin took a hard hit to the side but kept standing. He blocked, turned, and struck. Back, finally, he knocked the pirate to the ground. You lost, Tarin said. But the pirate laughed. You're too late. Reinforcements are coming. Tarin pressed his comm unit. Lyra, pull back now. Ships are coming. Lyra replied, her voice steady. Understood. Heading out, the team moved quickly. The charges were set. As they ran down the hill, the cave behind them exploded. Flames lit up the sky. The pirate ships arrived seconds later, but the command center was gone. Confused and leaderless, the ships did not attack. Instead, they scattered back in the strike ship. Lyra looked at the burning cliffs. Will they return? She asked. Not soon, Tarin said. Not without a leader or a plan. The ship returned to Varelia. The people saw the smoke rising in the east and knew what it meant. Victory. The city bells rang. People cheered in the streets. Flowers were thrown from rooftops. The sound of joy filled the air. In the palace, the council stood and clapped as Lyra walked into the hall. You have ended the threat, the High Guardian said. You have protected your people. You have earned more than our respect. Lyra bowed her head. I did not do it alone. She looked at Tarin. This human, who once stood as a stranger among us, is now part of our story. He protected not only me but all of us. Tarin stepped forward. I only did my duty, but you showed us how to be brave. Lyra said. The council agreed. They gave Tarin the Star of Varelia, the highest honor of the land. Later, as the city celebrated, Lyra and Tarin stood once more in the garden. The moonlight touched the flowers. The wind was calm again. You could return to Earth now. Lyra said. I could, Tarin replied. But will you? He looked at the sky, then back at her. Not yet. Lyra smiled. Then stay. We still have more to build. And so, the human warrior remained, not as a stranger, not just as a protector, but as part of something greater. Varelia was safe for now, but the stars still held many secrets.